Good evening. Welcome to the board meeting for the Romulus Community School Board. Today is Monday, February 27th, 2023. This is an in-person public participation meeting. There is no YouTube live streaming. Call to order at 6:06. Roll call vote, Madam Secretary.
Davis,
Excused.
Laster,
Present.
Piles present, Evans,
Excused.
McCarthy,
Present.
Kennard,
Excused.
Wester.
Present.
We have a quorum.
And stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item on our agenda is the acceptance of the agenda. Move that the Board of Education accept the meeting agenda as presented. Is there support?
Support.
Roll call vote.
Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next on our agenda is public comment. If you would like to speak, please make sure your public comment forms are brought up here to the table, please. Are there any more forms?
Rita Hampton.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just heard the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and it's ironic that we say that, for liberty and justice for all. And I wonder, Dr. Edmondson didn't get it, liberty and justice for all. But Debbie Piles, why are you still here at the board, being accused of embezzlement? We still at that conjecture, because we can't move on as long as she's sitting there. Now, my two questions now will be, why did you terminate Dr. Edmondson again? And Ms. Piles, why are you still here? Now, I asked the board with ourselves from the disassociate. I'm going to ask, the first thing is to not become a member of the MASB, the Michigan Association of School Boards. We pay them $5,000 a year, and I don't, for membership, and I say, for what? I don't see the results of it. You win awards, I guess, for participation. And someone said I paid, and we, not only that, we paid the membership fees, $5,000, plus the conference participation that we take part in, the sessions, the workshop, the lodging, the food, the mileage, all those things. And what did we receive from it? Absolutely nothing. Debbie Piles took all the classes, all the amenities that go with it, and even the award, saying that she paid for some of the classes herself. And I don't believe that. If that was true, then I wear a size 2 dress. I say, what is she doing? Didn't bring back anything to implement. Look at our district now, on the borderline of chaos. I asked Mr. Wartuba, the president, I sent him an email, another one, email number 2, asking him, what's the purpose if you don't go to the district and do a insight to see if those classes are working? Are they being implemented? What's the use taking them? I'm done. I want you to resign, Debbie Piles. You have given nothing, you have contributed nothing to Romulus Community Schools. You know why? Because I say that because you had an opportunity. It would have been the most political move, the best, if you had have voted to bring Dr. Edmondson back. If you had have said yes, you didn't have your cohorts here to spur you on to no, you could have said yes, bring him back. But I now know why you didn't and why I can't get an answer why he was terminated. The reason you couldn't, because then you'd have to give a reason. And you really didn't have any. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no more comment from those who are here, Ms. Carol Bells would normally speak when she is here, but she is out of town. She actually dropped some things off to me and would like me to present it to the board and read it. So I'm going to read it under public comment from Ms. Carol Bells. I'll pass these out, please. It's addressed to Ursula Wester, President of Romulus Community School Board. Dear Madam President, because I am unable to attend the board meeting, she's respectfully asking that we read this under public comment. After reviewing documents received from my January 27th FOIA request for past year, I have become very concerned about compensation and mileage reimbursement for board members. Although I have not reviewed all board members' information because of numerous paperwork received, I have reviewed documents submitted by Debbie Piles because of pending allegations by Dr. Witherspoon. I see there are reimbursements for mileage to Traverse City and Grand Rapids, but yet was told by Ms. Piles that she flew and paid for flights, but there is no data, receipts, or information substantiating her claim. Mileage reimbursement is just that. You drive by car with mileage recorded for from board office to destination. As a former employee of the district, I have never seen this happen. I am requesting that Ms. Piles provide the district with documentation, receipts, etc. when she flew to conferences. I asked Ms. Piles to give me documentation, but to date have received nothing. I have attached copies of some of the information given to me by my FOIA request. To be reimbursed for mileage is not driven appears to be dishonest to taxpayers of Romulus. Where is the transparency so often talked about at board meetings? Funds that could be utilized by our students and staff have been misused. I have also attached copies of compensation form showing that board member Piles put in for $50 payment for telephone calls, dinners, attendance for every class taken in the same day at MASB conference for a total of $150 for a day. District pays for all conferences, hotels, and our budgeted meal, and there's a budgeted meal allowance. Board members should not be paid for every class taken. As I said previously, this is optional and not a regular scheduled meeting or board committee meeting. Reimbursements for attendance at community and athletic events is optional and not required. I request the legitimacy, legality in asking for reimbursement for these activities. I know the board and law firm are reviewing policies currently, but ask that before any other compensation and/or reimbursement is made, that data provided is reviewed very closely. I know that you are talking to the law firm and asking for current policy language with regard to this matter be reviewed and clarified. Also, I think that the board should look closely at the number of conferences being attended and a budget established with limitations. It is my understanding some staff have been denied attendance for lack of funds. Board should set the example. Please note, I have not attached all data received, but will be happy to supply if we request. I am reviewing other information received. Thank you for your time and await receiving clarification. Carol Bales. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion. A, approval of the minutes for the Board of Education, February 13th, regular meeting and closed session. Item B, approval of the bills for payment as submitted by Business Manager Sarah Kahn in the amount of $1,867,588.91. So move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there support? Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Wester,
Yes.
Piles, yes. McCarthy,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
motion carries.
Next on the agenda is report of the superintendent, Dr. Benjamin Edmondson.
Oh, boy. No tears today, folks, none. And I appreciate everybody, you know, the support that I got 2 weeks ago. Really appreciate that. It was really hard for me. That moment was just really difficult, and I needed to do it. So thank you for all being there to see it. It was totally genuine. So let me move this on. So we have K-12 instruction update. As I always say, I will be truthful and transparent, and that's how you gain trust. So I'm never embarrassed to say what it is. What is what is. So it is our responsibility, if we want to make some changes, to address whatever it is and move on. Okay, so I'm going to start there. Okay, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But for those that don't know, Dr. Yolanda Bloodsaw, who is serving as the K-12 Director of Instruction, is on the Family Medical Leave Act. So rather than to move Dr. Gardner yet again, poor Dr. Gardner, but you're a true soldier. Rather than to do that, I said, you know, we're trying to get stability here. So I would rather look on the outside and try to find somebody on the outside who I know. So let me say this. Transparency is when you say you know somebody, okay? I'm going to introduce Dr. Robin Thompson, who I know. So I'm going to add to that. When you are an African American and you are in the field of education, it is very likely that you know others who are in the same position. So before anybody questions whether somebody is my friend, what we should question is what type of expertise do they have? Because I've always said, I'd rather bring you somebody, maybe I know them, but if they're excellent, is that not what we want? Or we're worried about, is he your friend? Okay, so I just want to share that. So I'm honored. I'm going to be talking about two people today, but the first one is K-12 instruction. So I've asked Dr. Robin Thompson to serve as the Director of K-12 instruction for Romulus Community Schools. Dr. Robin Thompson is an educator of 30 years, I believe, 30. And she served in many capacities. She's given Utica Public Schools at least 20 years in various capacities as a teacher and even as a principal and an executive director. And then she also served as my boss when I was at Ann Arbor Public Schools. She was assistant superintendent of secondary. So that's really odd. It's really another moment for me that I have now my former boss working with me. She was also superintendent of East Lansing Public Schools, and I was her greatest cheerleader then, and then she went back to Utica because we understand, don't we, Robin, how the superintendency can eat you up. So I'm very excited, and thank you, Ms. Piles, for the wonderful contact today saying you support my people. I appreciated that. Our people. My people, I'm bringing them here. So, you know, I'm very excited to bring Dr. Robin Thompson to us as, you know, if it's a short period of time or whatever the period of time is, I feel very comfortable with her and her leadership. So I'd at least like to welcome you. And if you used all your time up earlier talking, just so we're clear, you used all your time. if you have a few minutes that you could introduce yourself to the board and also to the crowd so they know what kind of gem we have in you.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson.
They gotta use the mic.
I'm gonna use my teacher voice.
Now, you used up all your time. Remember that. You gave us about 20 minutes earlier.
No, I'm glad I love you. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm glad to be able to come and assist the community and Dr. Edmondson. As he stated earlier, I did have the pleasure of being his boss in Ann Arbor. And so, you know, we have both worked in high achieving districts. I have in my whole career. You know, when I started in education, I subbed in Detroit, but I was never an administrator in a district that had a high number of at-risk students. However, every district has at-risk students, so we're not going to fool ourselves. And as Dr. Ben already went over the kind of things that I've done in terms of being superintendent, assistant superintendent, and I will say, and I'm very proud of the fact that I was the first female superintendent that Ann Arbor ever had. Regardless of the color of my skin, I was the first woman, so I'm very proud of that fact. While they tried to kill me, I still was the first woman, so I do have a sense of humor. Mother of 3 children, 5 grandchildren, been married almost 46 years, and so that brings us challenges as well, so for both of us, my husband and myself. No, I'm just joking. So anyway, I'm very happy to be here. And Dr. Edmondson, is it okay if I speak to what I observed today, or would you rather I wait? Okay, so today I had the opportunity to meet with some administrators, and I just want to leave you with a couple of things that I observed in my 7 hours of being here that just jumped out at me right away in terms of, you know, things that need to be worked on. I think one of the biggest things that just really jumped out at me is there's an issue in Romulus with lack of systems. That's apparent to me. Through the discussions and the documents that I looked at from the partnership schools and hearing the conversations today, that will be a high priority for me, is establishing systems. The other thing is, when we were going through the list of initiatives, there's 25 initiatives on the list. That's way too many. There's no way that you can achieve or work with 25 initiatives. And there's such a thing called initiative fatigue, okay? And you just wear people out with it. And so when you constantly switching gears or you know, we're gonna do this year and then we're gonna do that next year, you know, research says you can't effect change without at least 3 years. Okay, so based on that, I think that one of the things that we must do is we must look at our initiatives. If they're working, fine. If they're not, move on. It's like when you go to the doctor and you get a prescription and you're still sick, you don't keep taking the same medication. It doesn't make sense. So for me, that was 2 of the things that jumped out at me. The other thing that jumped out at me is the lack of accountability on the part of things that are being done. So I'll say real briefly, if you're trying to impact change in terms of instruction, the administrators need to have training on the different programs that you have. They need to be trained on what are we looking for, and then there's an accountability piece. You know, is that as an administrator, if I'm walking into your building, and I will, I love to do it, and so they're gonna get sick of me. Here she comes again. But I'm just saying, when I walk into a building and I have a conversation with a principal, I need to be confident that they know what they're looking for. Versus, you know, we're not doing drive-by walkthroughs. It's got to be intentional. It's got to be deep conversations about what is or what isn't going on in the classroom. Because in fairness, I don't want to go to the doctor that was in the bottom 5% of medical school. Thank you very much. I'll pass. So having high expectations for all, and I'm gonna leave it at that because I could go on forever, as Dr. E said, but those were 3 observations that jumped out at me right away. So again, thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to working with everyone, and have a great evening.
I'm excited to work with you, Dr. Thompson. So the next thing for me is just an FYI on stabilizing. You know, I've been here since February 1st, and it's pretty clear. The theme is instability. Almost at everywhere you say, it kind of aligns with what Dr. Thompson said, that it's just unstable. The district needs stability, and there's a way to do it. One is, you know, your leadership. And, you know, it's no secret in the district, and I'm not even talking about my own experiences before I got here. Whenever you have multiple leadership changes, it filters to the classroom. First, it hits teachers, then it filters to the classroom. So there's no blame. I'm not blaming anybody. There's no need to do all that. All I'm asking for is that you support my idea and those that are around us and the board to stabilize. Okay, some things are going to make people uncomfortable, but if you want stability, and it's only fair to people in the community. People in the community want stability in their school district or they leave, okay? And they might not move, but they'll take their kids. And we can see that. I don't have it in front of me, but I can give you the number. 2,200 students that live in Romulus are choicing out of Romulus, as I said before. So there are more kids choicing out of Romulus than there are in Romulus. So that says something, that our narrative, we need to work on our narrative, and we're going to work on our narrative, and I'm excited about that. So everybody knows I've said, hey, I want to be a destination district. We want to be a destination district. Well, I'll say this. I want to be a destination district. I hope that everybody else wants to be a destination district. 3 things. I've said it over and over and over, and somebody added a 4th, but I can't remember theirs, but I remember mine. 1, you pay your staff well. 2, you have to have good culture and climate. And 3, you have to have good student achievement. Those are the things, those 3 exist. People move into your community specifically to be in your school district. So let's work toward that. There's things that we can do to work toward that. So first thing I'm going to say is we started teacher negotiations, or REA negotiations. I'm very excited about that. We also have RAZA negotiations, and then we have Local 3400. 3422. It's been a while. My apologies. 3422. And I don't want to shock the board, but I'm going to respectfully ask, not right now, but I want to open up the Local 64. Because everybody deserves, you know, everybody deserves this from us. We don't leave anybody out. So I'm going to respectfully, there's no vote or anything, but I think, and if you don't know, Local 64 is the secretaries who have now added the custodians. So the custodians were made whole, but not necessarily the secretaries weren't touched. So I'm just asking that the board really consider that, you know, we work on all of those contracts. We can get them done. We did it 2 years ago. We got 4 contracts done. And I think it would behoove us to try that. So I'm just letting you know. Next, strategic plan. You need a strategic plan because a strategic plan is superintendent proof. So you can change superintendent 18 times, 12 times, 10 times. Your strategic plan, whoever comes in that seat, can't disrupt everything and do whatever he or she wants to do because the community will hold you accountable for your strategic plan. So the strategic plan is a 3 to 5 year plan that is collaborated on. Okay, collaborated on, I thought it was between, but it's collaborated on staff, parents, who am I missing? Students, taxpayers, and a whole bunch of other people. Okay, so I've contacted 3 companies. Many of you know them: Michigan Association of School Boards, MASB, Michigan Association of School Administrators, that's the superintendent body, and then Michigan Leadership Institute, which works with Metro Bureau, which does something similar. I put out the prices, and I wasn't really concerned, but I thought that we would go with the one that's 6,100, which is Michigan Leadership Institute. They have experience doing this. It'll really be a 3 to 5 months for us to do it and do it correctly, and it takes the community community engagement and community involvement. If we're not going to participate, then it's not going to be successful. So I'm just letting the board know that that was something that I feel that we owe this community. We owe our staff that. And can we owe our staff some consistency? So when I hear more about it, you know, they definitely meet with the board, and then we help shape. It really starts with us, and then it filters out to everybody else once the board decides what some of the strategic focuses will be. Next, I hate saying it, but it is I right now. It is I. There's got to be some reorganization, and it's to nobody's fault, but you come in as a superintendent, and then somebody else has done a whole bunch of stuff, and then for me, what I've done is I look at finances, I look at budgets, I look at what is that person doing, and I'm looking at the overall cost, and how does it fit in with my own vision at this point? And again, my vision should not drive the district. It's the strategic plan that drives the district. But without a strategic plan, right now we have my vision. So I'm going to be reorganizing. There are some areas where I think that we've put too much funding in, or we don't know how to fund it, or it just doesn't make sense. So I've been really looking at that, and I would certainly come to the board, and I will absolutely share that with you, but it's only fair, it's not fair to me, but that you reorganize. So I've been in the process, I'm starting the process, and I'm going to continue the process as long as you all let me. And it will be collaborative, but, for the most part, I'm the one that, is responsible for some of the changes and implementation. And the last thing about stabilizing will be marketing. I'll give you an example. We need to have one brand, and we don't have one brand. You go into one school, it's different than another school. We have principals saying they want different furniture than this school. No, we all need to have something that looks similar. It's our brand. And if you ask people out in the community, what's the Romulus brand? I don't know what they'd say. I don't think that they would be consistent in whatever it is. So we need to develop a consistent brand of what we do. And that starts with simple things. And one is, I can give you an example. I sent a friendly email to people last night. They know who they are. And I said, board meetings, we're dressed business-like, not business casual. We're about business, because I want the narrative to be that we're about business, not just in dress, but in everything we do. Marketing is, one person's letter to parents shouldn't drastically look different than somebody else's. And that's what Dr. Thompson talked about, and I heard it. Dr. Gardner was there to verify. We're just all over the place. So we are working on marketing. I promise in the middle of March, there will be a presentation to the board and the community. I think you'll like what we're doing, okay, what we're going to do. And on Thursday, we're taking professional pictures throughout our schools so that we can show off what we're doing. We can show off some of the great things. Our website needs to look fresher, a whole bunch of things. There's someone at Hale Creek that I've recruited who has a BA in journalism. And I brought him in and just said, hey, what can you do for us? Like, I don't want to write all my stuff anymore. I'm kind of tired of that. Actually, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. But I'm just asking him to help us. We have to deliver a better narrative than we have had. And again, we can't go back and continue to blame. I'm not interested in blaming. I'm like, look, 16 months, it happened. I've moved on, so we can all move on. Let's stop blaming each other now. Let's just try to move forward, and, that's all I ask. Next, moving on, systems deficit. I put staffing onboarding. So we have Mr. Brock, who will be joining us, assuming that the board approves it. And we have Mr. Dan Scott, who's going to remain with us for another month. But we're talking about staffing, how to do it correctly. Again, we're all over the place in terms of staffing our buildings. One principal does it differently. No, that's over. We're not doing that anymore, okay? We're going to have onboarding when they come to Romulus and they get hired. First of all, we should give them a T-shirt. That's only fair. It's not going to kill us, okay? Last I checked, I heard I have like 400 in there. So, we would not have a good onboarding process so our employees feel really good about joining us. Because if they don't, they're going to leave us. And not only when they join you, you got to treat them right when they're here. So we're going to be working on onboarding. I think all of these are very important to change the narrative, the current narrative. Procedures, too. So we have different schools doing different things. There's no blame, it just is, but it's going to stop. But it takes time to do it. So it's not going to just stop in a month, but it will stop. We need to put some procedures in place that safeguard not only our staff, but our students as well. So expect that. And truancy. One of the things that Mr. Scott and I were talking about, we acknowledge there's a huge truancy problem running rampant in our district and others, but I'm not worried about theirs. I'm worried about ours. So we have put out a posting for attendance, what's the word you have? attendance agent. I call it a community assistant. Call it whatever you want. But that's what we're going to do because we have to monitor this. But I want everybody to know that that position is not about putting parents into the court system. That if your child is truant, it is far beyond just the kid. It's the parent. The parent needs some help. So my goal is to make sure that we train people so that they can go out to the homes and find resources for parents that they may need because we need their child in school. So that's one of the things that we'll be doing. But I was just talking about it's an issue, and we need to acknowledge that we have a severe truancy issue, okay? But don't feel badly about our school district because other people have it as well, okay? Last thing for me, no, that's not true. I have appropriations, and I put unallocated funding. Again, it's not to blame, but I've spent a lot of time looking at how money has been spent the past year, and I want everybody to know, when you're staffing, when you're looking toward next year, you got to look toward how you spent money and where it goes, because when maybe programming goes or something goes, people are very, very upset, and then they're very upset with the superintendent, like I did something wrong. It just is, but I'm like, wow, $660,000 on attorney fees, $360,000 for a finance director, $240,000 for an interim superintendent. We have 2 curricula that are out there. Okay, when I was here, we had one that we purchased $200,000. Then the next year, $500,000. So now we have 2 curricula in reading that's out there, and we're not using either one to fidelity. That's a problem, but let's add that up. That's $700,000. A curriculum consultant, $180,000. Now that person was supposed to give the professional development for the $500,000 allocation. And now that person's gone, so now we have no PD. So here we are with 2 different things, and we have no PD for either. But yet, we want our scores to go up. Not going to happen. Okay, somebody needs to be real. That's transparent. It's not going to happen until we figure out which one we're going to use, and we train our staff to be able to implement it to fidelity. A couple more things. $139,000 in administrative stipends. I didn't know that until last week. I'm like, $139,000, that's an employer or 2. Okay, that's giving, frankly, paraprofessionals and secretaries, giving them a raise. I did the math. It's about $130,000 if I wanted to do what I want to do. So 1.5 Meta, I'm not against Meta, but if we bring it next year, you got to find $1 million in staffing. Where are we going to get that? $1 million to staff it. Where are we going to get that? Where are we going to have this conversation? Or are we? Or is it me? And, $41,000 in forensic investigations. Like, what? But the bottom line is, the whole point is, and again, I truly am not saying anything about the past administration. I'm saying this is what I have to deal with. This is what I have to deal with. And if we have to move forward, we have to remember that these things are done. Some of them, we weren't intending to allocate that much money. So we're moving forward, and as the leader, if I don't move forward, we probably won't. There's no blame. There is none. Let's move on as a community. We can do this. Okay, it is what it is, but I'm just letting you know there's some things on here that I'm going to have to work through. ESSER 3 funding, there was kind of like my plan for a minute, but I never got to implement it, and that's no big deal. But then somebody else came and did an ESSER plan, and then somebody else came and did an ESSER plan. So that's my point about a strategic plan. Ben Edmondson can sit in his seat, and guess what? I can't change the ESSER plan because your strategic plan says. But when you don't have a strategic plan, it's like, oh, Ben's here. What do you want to do? Oh, flavor of the month. I think I want chocolate today. And then I change it. So I'm looking at the funding and trying to figure out how we're going to afford some of the things and some of the things that I frankly think that we don't need. I don't know how that was developed when I wasn't here, okay, and I haven't asked. But I know, I guess I'll say it directly. People ask for experience until they get it, okay? I am experienced. I have an idea on how to move the district forward. But there's some things that we have to do that right. ESSER 3 funding, you don't use it, you lose it, okay? And we don't want to lose it, okay? We have to use it. And sometimes you have to have trust in your leadership to do the right thing. And if you don't, then you let that person go. And I'm all right with that. If you don't trust it, then that's fine. So I just wanted to share those things, and now get to this really good news. I'm very excited that we have our coach right here of the Lady Eagle basketball team, who's they're your district champs, right? Well, you will be district champs, but but what are you now? You're champs, city champs? I mean, what do you call it? What is it?
League champion.
Yeah, 3 in a row. Yeah, 3 in a row. Look at her. Give her a chance to brag there.
I'm not
Go ahead.
bragging, just 3, 3 the light way, no, nothing major.
Yeah, not-
3 and on.
So the districts will be this Wednesday in Grove Hill, and, if we wanted to go, I would be willing to fund a bus so that parents and students could go. Our students should be there. So I'm saying it to you, and I'll tell Mr. Petty and everybody else that we need to, as long as we can get buses, we can at least bring 2 and come on over there and knock them out.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
it.
you're playing Summit, right?
Summit Academy.
Then I
have-
definitely want to
yeah.
knock out.
I'm
I'm
gonna,
just saying, want to knock out.
I'm gonna press them from the time they get off the bus until the time
That's
they
what
leave.
I was saying. So we'll coordinate that, and we'll get that out for our students and our families that we need to travel deep. It's 6 o'clock, right?
5:30.
5:30. But we need to travel deep, and people need to know the R is back. So congratulations to you, Coach.
Thank you.
We also had our boys' team, same thing, and then they're going to districts, so they're champs, league champs, and then they're going to districts next week. I believe theirs is next week. Right, we hope that. Thank you. I mean, you can sit up here. We got empty chairs. Okay. We tried to get you here. No, so congratulations to our boys, too. We have a number of students that have signed letters of intent, and this is what you do when you're pushing your district. You got to push this out. It's not all about sports, but push it out. Now, one thing that I'm very excited about is this Friday and Saturday we have, I got to write his name down. I can't read that. I should have known. No. Cadel? Caden, oh, it's that, yeah, Caden Budai. He is in state finals in bowling. Okay, something that we probably would never guess. This Friday and Saturday, he will be in Jackson. I think it's called Jack's Lane. But state bowler, he's in the finals. Like, how big is that? That's beyond regionals. I knocked those folks out, and now I'm gunning to be the best. So, we want to send him some love at some point, somehow. I don't know if it's emails. If you send me something, I'll send it out to him. He needs to know we're behind him. Okay, bowling doesn't get a lot of attention. Okay. So I just wanted to share that. DTE trucks parking, it's amazing. Like, you take this seat and every complaint, that's what I say, you get every complaint. So there was a complaint that trucks were parking at, and it's not DTE, they were an affiliate. I think when I saw it was DNT. But they were parking at Mount Pleasant for quite a while. So I went over there, actually Pete Bergeron picked me up, and we went over there for the first time. We looked, and there were a lot of trucks. So I sent one of my emails. I kept it brief, President Carter. I kept it brief. And guess what? They're gone. So, I want to thank the community for, I don't know unless you tell me. So we took care of that, and people in the community should know that those trucks are gone now, and, that we're always going to do what's in the best interest of our community to make certain that we gain their support. I think that should be it. I don't think I have anything else. No. I guess last. He already, okay. So we have partners in this district who aren't necessarily affiliated with our school district, but we have partners. So when we get new things, like a new weight room, we don't close them out because we got a new weight room. Okay? Just because you get new things, you still have your same partners. You keep that relationship going. So I've made a promise to you, and I'm doing it in public, Mr. Green, that we will continue to honor the wrestling program and make certain that you get the use of the weight room the same way that you're accustomed to doing. I did it live, and I'm going to certainly send an email. So we want to thank you for being a supporter of our district. So thank you. We will continue that. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you for bringing up the curriculum issue. I know that the Board of Education approved Amplify in 2021, and there was a lot of positive feedback and excitement from our staff about getting the training and getting that rolled out for our students. I can't speak as to why that plan was changed, but I do know that our staff did not receive that training. I know that we have pallets somewhere of that curriculum. I've heard our elementaries, I've heard Merriman, I don't know where. I know that I've heard that our staff did not receive the training, and we've purchased more curriculum. Curriculum is a tool, not a magic wand. So whatever, now we've got 2 different curriculums, whatever we're going to use you and your cabinet will make that decision. My question for you is, do you have an estimation of a timeline of when that decision might be made and when we might get an update on what you will decide and what will be rolled out?
Surely, we have Dr. Robin Thompson, who will certainly give that report to us sometime in March, just where we are. She's going to give that, but, you know, I certainly want a collaborative process because I was there when Amplify was approved, and then I come back and it's not. So it really puts me, in like this kind of catch-22, like there's a few of those where I have to make a decision where somebody's not going to like it. And something like that, I want to see what the teachers think who have engaged in it. But if it doesn't come with professional development, and then what are we going to do with the one that we don't choose? What do we do? Like, it just doesn't look good. But it's been done, and my job is to make sure that we move forward, and we will. So I'll work with Dr. Thompson, who's going to work with the principals, certainly, who will work with the teachers, because we don't get teacher input, guess what? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we'll make sure that we do that. March 20th, if you just give a brief report, Dr. Thompson, just about, we're not expecting an answer, but just maybe you've had a chance to review it. Maybe you've had a chance to talk to somebody or some people about what we should do. And then we'll certainly make you aware. But thank you. Action items, so. Purchase.
We have the action item of the offer to purchase the property at 35408 Beverly Road. Would someone like to read that motion, please?
Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approve the purchase agreement for the sale of the property located at 35408 Beverly Road and 6.43 acres, Romulus, Michigan, for a purchase price of $160,000. Further, the Board of Education authorizes and directs Superintendent Dr. Benjamin Edmondson or designee to execute the purchase agreement. Rationale, please see the presented purchase agreement, 3DX Real Estate, to sell this property for a purchase price of $160,000. Please refer to the agreement for detailed information, budget implications, funds paid to district, exhibits, purchase agreement, 3DX Real Estate, purchaser signature date 2/6/2023.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Piles, yes, Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next on the agenda is the report of the Director of Human Resources.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would first like to just give you some current information. The REC director that we had hired is now out of the classroom. We've been able to take care of the staffing so she could vacate the classroom. And she now is a full-time coordinator of early childhood. And Mr. Tracy Richardson, who had been the interim assisting in that capacity, his last day was a week ago last Friday. The second thing is I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the staffing that we are starting up, attempts to staff starting up, that we think will be successful. Some of them we have already tried and have some people in them, in those programs, but I became aware of Frontline has another component to it that we are not accessing due to the fact that it was not part of the consortium contract that we got through RESA. And once I became aware of it, I inquired of them as to what this program was. It's called JobStop, and what it does is it allows you to have access to teachers who are, or individuals who are certified teachers who are applying for positions. And in finding out more about it, I was told that within the state of Michigan, there are 55,000 teacher applications. This gives us an opportunity to be proactive and actually to go out, see those teachers who are applying, then to try to recruit them to come here to interview through promoting our district to them and then getting them to come and interview. They also said that there is 1.1 million applications on JobStop that we would also have access to. I talked to Dr. Edmondson concerning this. He agreed that we should go forward with it. So I have gotten to the point where they have finally sent me an invoice, and we're going to be taking care of that. And then there is a period of time in which they have to actually come and assist us in setting it up so that we can access and start the recruiting process. So that's one of the things that we are doing. Another one I had mentioned to you, but I'll just mention it again to you. J1 Visa through International Alliance Group is who we have signed an agreement with. Just last week, we were able to actually get access to their candidates that they have. This is a teacher exchange program for 3 to 5 years. In other words, you can get a teacher for 3 to 5 years from, and these are the places that they usually come from, Mexico, Central America, the Philippines, and then there are other countries as well. You probably are somewhat familiar with it because we currently have a person who is in their second year of the J1 visa, and that's our bilingual teacher, Mr. Balagosa. The third one is Dr. Edmondson suggested, we were discussing one day, one of the ways of trying to get assistance from other people to help recruit teachers. And he came up with the idea of what if we offer a teacher referral bonus, I'm sorry, not teacher, staff referral bonus of $500 if a staff member refers a teacher that we end up hiring as an employee here at Romulus Community Schools. The last one is one that we also have people currently involved in, which is the interim teacher certification program. We have a number of teachers who are going through it. Just recently, the high school had a situation in which they have a teacher there, and we are attempting to get him into the program as well so that we can hire him as a certified teacher in the area that currently he's subbing in. So there are a number of things that we are attempting to do to try to hire teachers for next year. And I know that through some of the negotiations that are occurring, we're hoping to be able to become more attractive financially as well.
That's all right. The contract language, we have RASA contract language, so this is just an FYI for the board in particular. We have to honor contracts, so even at my level, I can't just do certain things and say, I'm going to break your contract. So there's been a couple of positions that were created that absolutely went against the agreement that we had with RASA. RASA is the principals union, well, association. It's an association. Big difference. So there's been some things that were done in the past where, I guess, for lack of a better word, circumvented to make sure that you don't put it in RASA. So I have to go back and I have to honor that. I'm not going to get an unfair labor practice or anything because we didn't do what we're supposed to do. And it clearly says that these are the positions, and we work some things out with them. So I'm going to have to go back and work with Dan and work with Kevin, or work with Kevin and Dan, whomever. But we're going to have to take a look at that and see how we're going to have to, I mean, we have to acquiesce on our part. It's totally our wrong that we have to fix. So just wanted to share that to the board, that you can expect that. And that's going to have an impact on a couple of people because they have to now go, they can't be at will in this sense, like an at will. We have to go back and now make them into RASA, where they're still an at will, but it looks a little bit different. Dan, would you mind, or did you want me to introduce Kevin, or?
I was going to suggest, seeing as though you mentioned earlier that you had two people that you wanted to introduce tonight, so I would allow you to do that.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. I'd like to introduce Mr. Kevin Brock. You can stand up, I guess, I mean, just so they know who we're talking about. So I'm very excited about Kevin coming along. I've had an opportunity 2 years ago. I put out an email to superintendents asking for help to help me with the process of hiring, oddly enough, an HR director. So he helped out. He helped during that whole process, was very professional. So I kind of got to know him, and then I was able to ask other questions as time went on. But I'm going to say this about him. When I was out for 16 months, this is the guy, he doesn't even work in this district, that was just checking on me, seeing how I was doing, just the human side. How are you, Ben? How's it going? And, you know, we kept talking, and, you know, we have an opportunity to work together. So he comes from Dearborn 7, and he served as assistant superintendent as well and had many, many jobs. Hopefully here we don't give you many, many jobs, but, you know, if we put a stop to things, you definitely will get to be the director of human resources. You know, I want to say that Dan Scott was very gracious when I approached him about, you know, trying to get my own cabinet and move the district forward. And I want to thank you publicly, and I'll say it again next month, but I want to thank you publicly for your graciousness. And I said to you what I call you, the consummate professional you have been as far as I've gotten to know you, okay? So I just want to thank you there. Back to Kevin. We're going to have you come up here, Mr. Brock, and say a few things. Kevin will be our lead negotiator on all of our negotiations, or, you know, the teacher's contract. He's the lead negotiator working with Dr. Rod Green as well. So Kevin.
Good evening, Board of Education, community members. I come from 25, 26 years of school experience. I taught in the classroom for many, many years. I was a CTE teacher for many years.
Let's back this up.
Computer-aided design, drafting. So I did that for many years. I was an assistant principal at the middle school principal, high school assistant principal, elementary school principal. I'm married to an educator. She teaches 4th grade. I have 5 boys, ages 15 to 20. We're going to be 21. I don't like any of them. I love them, but I don't like them. I like everybody else's kids, right? I like everybody else's kids, but no, I'm teasing. So I'm very humbled and honored that Dr. Edmondson reached out to me to work together. He's been nothing but a consummate professional himself. We've reached out to each other, and we've kept in touch. Similar paths. So I come with a lot of experience. I put kids first. Some of the most difficult decisions that we have to make are made, and they're made in the benefit of the children. So I'm humbled and I'm honored to be here this evening to serve this community and serve this staff. I'm looking forward to working through some of the things that I did see today, the open positions that we have that need to get filled by some of our more professional positions, as well as all of the staffing that needs to be filled. I agree with Dr. Thompson with our systems approach. One of the things that I think we really need to focus on is some systems that are put in place, and that's just in lieu of the multitude of leadership that takes place. That just gets to the wayside, and you're just keeping your head above water, trying to get things done so that your school can function in a minimal fashion. So I'm here to say that I'm here to work with Dr. Edmondson and his staff to move this district, keep it moving forward and keep it going in the right direction so that it can be a destination district, that we can hire staff, that staff will want to come here and work and join this awesome staff. And I will tell you, the limited interaction that I've had today, it's been wonderful for the staff members that are here. I will tell you the theme, and the first impression is the lasting impression, and it's an awesome impression. This staff, you can tell, loves what they do, and they love kids. And they're passionate about these facilities. They're passionate about what they do. So you're very fortunate and very blessed to have the staff that you have, and I'm very excited to work with them.
We have before you 2 motion sheets for 2 action items for the hiring of the first one being Dr. Robin Thompson.
Mr. Scott, do we have Dr. Thompson's resume yet?
She's going to get it to me tomorrow.
Okay, just so that sorry about that. That's my mistake. I'll own that, I guess.
Yes. Move that the Board of Education approve an interim K-12 curriculum director contract with Dr. Robin Thompson beginning February 27th, 2023, and ending with the return of Dr. Yolanda Bloodsaw, and that the board authorizes the superintendent to take any actions, including the signing of the employment contract, to effectuate this decision. The rationale is that Dr. Robin Thompson will perform the duties of interim K-12 curriculum director until Dr. Yolanda Bloodsaw returns. And then we have the contract in the board packet.
Is there support?
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Piles, yes. Laster?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Welcome, Dr. Thompson.
Then you have a second action item before you for the hiring of Kevin Brock as the Director of Human Resources.
Someone like to read the motion?
Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approve a Human Resources Director contract with Kevin Brock with a contract date of February 28th to June 30th, 2024, and that the board authorizes the superintendent to take actions, including the signing of the employment contract to effectuate this decision. The rationale, Kevin Brock will perform the duties of Director of Human Resources. Budget implications, general fund. Exhibits is his contract in the board packet.
Is there support?
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Laster?
Yes.
Piles, yes. McCarthy?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Welcome, Mr. Brock.
Thank you to the board. I always get a little bit nervous. It's PTSD, I guess. If I can joke about it, then everybody else should be able to joke about it. Moving on to the report of the Office of Curriculum, it's just an FYI because these are things that, we have to turn into MDE and certainly want to make you aware of, the goals that we have. You can take a look. I'm going to challenge this board to, I'm going to put it out there, at least I'll say quarterly. Ask for updates academically where we can get Dr. Thompson. We have enough data, as we've seen. We have enough data to give you a lot. We have a long way to go. Okay, and I have done a lot of in my couple weeks here. I compared us to Summit and Metro academically, and I won't share that. If you ask me for it, I'll certainly give it to you. But just you need to know how well you're doing against others that are doing the same thing. And I always say to our principals, don't compete against each other. Like, that's not the standard that I want. I want the standard that you compete against another school in another district so you can figure out what you need to do to stay on top or to catch up. So we have that data, and these are some of the things that I've seen some of the principals working at. This has some data there. You can see, their NWEA. If you don't know what that is, it's a benchmark. And sometimes it's used against teachers. It's weaponized instead of understanding that it's really about a student performance, what they don't know and what they should know. That's all it is. Some scores, you hope that it gets better, but sometimes fall is usually, it all depends. Sometimes fall is less, believe it or not. Makes sense because they've had summer loss. But if you look at our trends, it looks kind of interesting, but I'm not going to sit here and hide it. So, as I said today, you want your district to be high growth, high achievement. Okay, that's what you want, high growth. And as I said before, we're not there. Okay, so our goal is to make certain that we have our students growing. And this is not just for the board, this is what I said today. So, for instance, a student is in the 5th grade, but reading at a 2nd grade level. That's achievement. You see that kid is not where he or she should be. Realistically, at the end of the year, that child is not going to make it to the 5th grade. So you're looking for growth. What has he or she or it, I believe that too, where they are? Did they grow? And when you have problems and you're not seeing student growth, that's a big, big issue and an indicator of distress. So I'm going to just tell the board, and I'm not going to hide anything from you. Anything you need to know academically, we'll give it to you because it is what it is. People are trying as hard as they can, but bottom line is we've got to get better for students. So in any school that you go visit, you ask the principal, what is your growth measure? Are you high growth, high achievement, low growth, high achievement, low growth, blah, 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 as I mentioned before. So this is just some data for you to look at and internalize, and then, I hope we get better. I don't want to promise it, but I'm hoping right now. The promise will come after we get things in order.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the report of the Director of Community Outreach and Special Programs, Dr. Gardner.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. So I'm going to be presenting today on our bridge transition planning. Today's presentation is going to be brief because I just want to put on your radar that we're looking at trying to create a pipeline of our students remaining in our district. And so with our bridge transition planning, it's for those bridge grades. For example, our incoming kindergarten students, our incoming students who are going to middle school, students who are going to high school. And so what we're going to do is collaboratively meet with our administrators, our counselors, to put a plan in place so students can tour the schools, see some activities and events in order to know what we have to offer here at Romulus. So our first meeting, go to the next slide. I can do it. Thank you. Got it. So as you see here, our first meeting is tomorrow. So we're very excited. It's for our high school. And so we'll have our middle school administrators and counselors come over to the high school, and we'll talk about what does it look like. It's not something I want to do individually or make a decision for the district. I want to make sure we have the right people at the table to ensure we have a very engaging day for our incoming ninth graders to see what they can actually benefit from and be exposed to at our high schools. Will do. Thank you. Got it. I think I'm all set. Thank you. So one thing I want to lift up is a very encouraging conversation with the Amazon support team, specifically around community outreach. And they're going to be involved in this day. They're going to be volunteers. They're going to provide swag bags with Amazon t-shirts and also other items based on the team's decision. So it depends on what we decide we want from Amazon. They're willing to work with us to make this a very engaging and exciting day for our students. So that's our very first meeting, which will be tomorrow. We'll have the same opportunity. I thought I had it. Right? We have the same opportunity for elementary schools to middle school. On here it says date and time to be determined. We actually have a date and time. So we're going to meet actually on March 7th from 1 to 2. And so looking forward to getting some ideas of what's going to really try to really attract and encourage our students to stay within our district. Again, Amazon support during that time as well. And lastly, I want to lift up our RECC transition to elementary schools. So I have flyers. We know we have our upcoming kindergarten roundup, which I have the agendas for each of our 4 schools, happening this Wednesday, March 1st. But it was always the intent to not only have one opportunity. We want to make sure we had a winter opportunity and a spring opportunity when we kind of thaw out a little bit. And so on March 7th when we meet, we'll see what does that day look like. Basically taking our kindergarten roundup another notch, making sure we have tours, making sure the timing is appropriate for all families to participate. And so just want to make sure, we definitely hear the feedback and we adjust. So looking forward to all of these meetings with all of the key stakeholders at the table to make the best decisions for these days to be very engaging and dynamic so we can keep our students here in Romulus as opposed to going to other districts or charter schools. So basically, the plan is to come back to you all with that plan, with all that feedback based on a collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gardner. Are there any questions? Did we have a date and time for the RECC? It's the same?
Yes, it's
Okay.
vertical alignment, so
Got it.
RECC. That's okay. We have RECC, our elementary and middle school,
Right, so
all at
they're
the
doing
same
same.
table. Yes, that'd be March 7th as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we have the report of the Manager of Operations and Facilities and Maintenance, Mr. Bill Garland.
You need to take a
Look
staff
at him.
photo.
Woo!
Sharp, cue the song, Sharp Dressed Man.
Yeah, you know this is an Edmondson, right? Because you all know I'm T-shirt and jean guy.
Were,
God gets this, and now Ben.
were a t-shirt and jeans guy.
Good evening, Board. Superintendent Edmondson. I have a couple FYIs for you, and then an action item. Happy to report that we were all set up and ready to go with our security audit, M6 Global. Paula graciously set up a lot of meetings with our stakeholders, all the different groups, to have little input into the feelings that they have concerning our security and the safety of our schools, which we really needed to do. Ice storm took us out. And so Paula rescheduled. Ice storm took us out. And then Paula rescheduled again, and we had to cancel once again. So we're going to give it a few more days, and we're going to try to reschedule those meetings and move forward with them quickly coming in. I'm hoping the beginning of March, if not mid-March, to do their actual physical audit. And then they're going to do a presentation, firstly, probably to Dr. Edmondson, and then to the board as well. And as we've been saying all night, it'll be very transparent. It's going to hurt our feelings a little, but that's okay. That's what we want. So any questions about that? Okay. Second FYI is about our Binergy auction. I would like to thank the board for allowing us to move forward with that. It went way better than I had anticipated. We anticipate making over $60,000 from the auction. And so we're still working with Binergy because there were some items due to the inclement weather that were not picked up. And so we're gonna make sure we get those items picked up because we want that money for our school district and our children. So many of the items are gone out of the building. A lot of things that we no longer could use that were in disarray would have ended up in dumpsters. And here we go. We got some money to spend. We're looking. We're going to do another all call again and get a bunch of items, and we're going to try it one more time, hopefully either this fall or sometime next year, and do it one more time. But I hope we have Merriman sold first. So that's the goal. Any questions concerning that? Dr. Edmondson?
And I give you my 2009 Pontiac Vibe. I've been trying to sell that thing for so long. I need an audience. I need an audience to sell it.
As long as you want to donate
No,
that money
I'm
to the
not.
school.
I'm not. I've donated my
The Bill
time.
Garland Fund? Anything else, board? Ms. Piles? I'm sorry. Trustee Piles?
Ms. Piles, fine. Thank you for that, and thank you for that auction. I know I briefly looked through those pictures and had been in Merriman, and I thought, just looking at the pictures and all that stuff was overwhelming, so thank you for looking at that. I did have a question regarding security. I know you'd come to us before about possibly purchasing the units for the doors that go down into the floor. Where are we on that?
Excellent news on that. We had submitted all the information. You guys, your team approved us to purchase them. We sent the maps to that company, and they sent them back, and they added a few others, said do these doors as well. The project began tonight. That's why it wasn't on an FYI. I didn't want to give Paula one more change to you guys, but I'll give it to you now. It's beginning at the high school and moving out from there. That's really good news. That's the grant that we received from the state of Michigan police, the state police, and so we're working on it as we speak right now.
So does that grant, I believe that grant was around 50,000 or something like that?
55,000.
Right, so do we have enough to do all of our buildings with that? Or if not, can we do all of our buildings and use other money so that all of our buildings are covered?
We're going to be completely covered. It cost an estimated $51,000 to do
that's
all those.
wonderful.
And then we bought walkie-talkies for our buildings. And so that was an additional close to $3,000. So we have used almost every penny of that grant. We're not going to let any go back.
Thank you, thank you. You look really good, Mr. Garland. Thank you, Dr. Edmondson.
Thank you, Bill, for that update. It's glad to hear that we're able to get all of that, plus some walkie-talkies for each building, because that's good when staff are around to be able to be notified. It's kind of hard when not in the classroom to try and call down, but to have that walkie-talkie, that's very good. Thank you so much.
I'm going to add something. I don't know, I saw Officer Cofield today, and I said, listen, we really need to get that Alice training done. And I thought that we had March 20th for elementary as a, maybe it's the wrong day, but I thought it was a half day, and kids leave at 12. Okay, I thought I saw it on the calendar, so maybe it wasn't. But we're going to have to reschedule, and you might be able to find Officer Cofield too, because I know it's through the Romulus Police Department, but this needs to be like ASAP, and it's usually a 7-hour training, but he said he could knock some of the, I don't want to minimize it, he said he could take some things out, but our staff really, really needs that as soon as, so if you can help me expedite that, and perhaps the president of the teachers union, because there has to be some kind of sacrifice for us to be able to get it done. Like, oh, thank you. Thank you.
And our next item, we have an action item. You want to just, would someone like to read the motion, please?
Move that the Board of Education approve the presented cost for Barton Marlow regarding bid pack 5A in the amount of $155,673 as per the letter dated February 1st, 2023. Rationale: the following document is a change order for Barton Marlow's management fee for the Phase 2 construction on bid pack 5A. The Board was previously informed of this extension, which was facilitated by the delays in the permit approval process by Wayne County. This adds no additional cost to the bid pack 5A project and will be paid with contingency monies already built into that contract. Additional detailed information is available on the presented document. Budget implications: sinking fund. Exhibits: 1, Barton Marlow letter dated February 1st, 2023.
Is there support? Support. Motion by McCarthy and supported by Laster. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
Piles, yes, Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Dr. Edmondson?
Next on the agenda is board subcommittees, but we haven't had any meetings yet, so we'll try and get those scheduled here soon in the near future. Report of the board president. First one is an FYI that our March 20th meeting, it's going to be the third Monday. We're having it the third Monday. So it's the second and the third Monday because fourth Monday is spring break. So that we're going to have 2 meetings back to back. Another FYI really is kind of piggybacking off of a lot of information that was brought out last week, even today, some information that Dr. Edmondson presented. I mean, we're in an open meeting, so it's going to be discussion. There are certain things we do in closed session, certain things we do in open session, and this is an open session. Defining what a meeting is. When we look at the information that has been presented to us as it relates to reimbursements and board compensation, to make sure that we are following what our board policy says. Yes, I am working with legal so that we can get together with the policy committee to make sure that everything is clear, black and white, as to what it is that the board does get compensated for and those things that we shouldn't. And 'cause I think part of our, the policy talks about board meetings and events. So we want to just get some clarity. We just got to get clarity to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible, to make sure that the funds are going towards our children. So that's used decent and in order. another option, another thing, not an option, amount of compensation. Making sure that we discuss when we have that committee meeting, what our allotted total is for a year. If it's, we right now, you get $50 a meeting. If we take that and multiply by 52 weeks in a year, you know, we're not even at 3,600. So we have to define what our total compensation is gonna be for the board and make sure that we adhere to it. We set the example. We set the standards. So we just wanna make sure that we follow that. And also submitting our reimbursements, making sure they're done in a timely manner, i.e. submit them quarterly. That's something that we can discuss to make sure that it's in the policy so that it's being done in the right amount of time and not being too much of a carryover to the next year. We don't want to hold off 6 months' worth of reimbursements just to get a nice Christmas check to go shopping. You know, I'm trying to make a joke, trying to make funny. It's just reality. We all know what we're trying to do.
So let me just add to that one. You just don't want to have something done in fiscal year 2023 or 2022, and then you get reimbursed in 2023 because the money has already been allocated. So now you've impacted. So whatever you all decide,
You're
I'm just asking you
impacting
to
the
think
budget
about
moving forward, yeah.
that whatever gets done, it has to be done in that fiscal year. And if you hand it in after that, then you're out.
Just doing things decent and in order, you know. Just like running a business, you send out your invoice, you want that invoice paid within the 30-day time frame. We want to make sure that our budget is done at the end of the year. We don't have a lot of carryover, you know, because it will impact when people go to start looking for things. They see, oh, you got this, where really it was accumulated in the previous year. So just really being mindful. Protocols for school visits. I know a lot of us are parents, grandparents. You know, just making sure. You have to remember, it's one of the things I did learn in my CBA trainings, my MASB trainings, is you are a school board member 24/7, 365 days of the year. Even if you have a child in the school, they're going to look at you as, oh, here comes Miss Wester. She's the school board president, and I'm there to pick up the grandbaby. So we still just want to be mindful of what we do, when we do, going into the buildings, letting the superintendent or his administrative assistant know that you're going there so that staff don't get unkiltered. They feel when they see a school board member, oh, they're checking on me. You know, I'm on the hit list. I've heard it. You know, they do. They just feel kind of edgy. So we just really want to be mindful, you know, because we want to be mindful of our staff. Let's see. And part of mine, and I also sent out the email in regards to our governance training, which will be coming up here soon. I've been talking about it since March. Looking at the dates, out of everyone I talked to, it looks like Mondays work best, that odd Monday, that first or third Monday, to have our meeting, which we were looking at a time slot of 2 to 3 hours. It's not, they said it may not be 3 hours every month when we meet, but to have that 2 to 3 hour time slot available. So what we have to decide on now is if we want it on the first Monday or if we want it on the third Monday. So any thoughts?
I prefer the first. Why not just knock it out?
Sounds,
Don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today.
I love it.
I prefer the first. It's easier to remember for me.
I concur.
You concur.
I have a vacation in May, so I haven't checked if that's the first Monday, because if it is,
You can't go.
I'll Zoom you.
You can't go.
I'm just saying. I deserve that.
And this The date that we choose will be monthly. We're looking at this commitment for a 3-year commitment. We know the first year will be on a monthly basis. Talking with Dr. Colbert from Wayne Risa and our MASB consultant, as we move forward, it can possibly go down to every other month or quarterly. It just depends on how we're moving along as a unified, let me repeat the word, unified board, to where we're on the same page. So with it being ongoing, it means that we're not just going to stop today. We're doing this so that we can move forward once we are done. We got to get our district moving forward, and it starts at the top. We always tell our kids, respect your elders, respect your teachers. It starts here. If they see us acting cuckoo, they're going to act cuckoo. So this is where it starts at. So we're going to go with the first Monday.
First Monday's May 1 in May.
What's that date for April? April? We come back that Monday. April 3rd. And the first Monday in June. That will most likely have to be changed. Okay.
All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves now.
So I guess my question, you said this is open discussion, so does that mean vacations will be planned around them so that we get 6 or 7 people? Or is
Yes.
it, you're on vacation, but I can't take a vacation that time?
No.
Just
I
saying.
mean, we understand that things
There's a
happen.
commitment, though.
Right, this is a commitment that we are committing to do this the first Monday of each month. Understanding that life does happen. Things do happen to whereas to a person may not be able to make a meeting because of an engagement that came up, which will be understandable. Where it will come into play if it's a repetitive. And we will, under the direction of our Wayne Risa superintendent and our MASB facilitator, these are things that we have to make that sacrifice as a board. If we want our teachers and our staff to make the sacrifice, we have to show that we're doing our due diligence and make that sacrifice as well.
So, in the past, I've had board superintendent protocol training where we're all clear on what the protocols are. And is this the same thing or is this a different kind of training? So like protocol, I won't call you on a Sunday, or you're not going to contact me on a Sunday, or I will do board briefs every other week. Like there's protocols. We have not established that. Like
We have not
what-
established,
what-
right.
How we're going to work together, and it needs to be done, but I'm thinking, that's different than this?
I believe it can be a part of this as well. So we can talk about our protocols or where we want to go, and then when we get into our governance training, bringing that to our facilitator so that he or she can help us to facilitate and make sure that we're doing what it is that we say we're going to do.
Because that's usually one of the first things, is you
Right.
do protocol so everybody understands, and then you hold people
And I
accountable
believe,
for the
yeah,
protocol.
I believe our first meeting will kind of be getting to know each other, putting those things, putting our protocols out there of how we want to succeed, and then really get into the meat of everything come the following meeting.
So Dr. Agneson, would you, do you think that that's something we should request that we cover on the first? Yeah, because President Wester can request that we do that on the first.
Absolutely.
I can have that.
Absolutely.
We've
Has to.
left that open for us, so.
We've kinda
Madam
discussed-
President, will you request that that be our first?
We've kind of requested
Topic.
that. We've discussed that. So yes, I will make sure that that is our first topic
And the other
of
request,
protocols.
It's collaborative
Yes.
when it's done.
and the other request, maybe since the first Monday in July is July 3rd, maybe we could request meeting the 3rd, if Vice President McCarthy is okay with the third Monday of July, since that's the holiday.
Yes, I am requesting that we have a board member barbecue. Thank
Okay.
you.
I love this board.
Who has the big tit?
Madam Secretary, would you like to read the motion?
What were the dates? Did you write them? Let me have the
April
paper.
3rd.
Thank you. Move that the Board of Education approve the following dates, April through July 2023, for the Board of Education governance training workshops provided by MASB. April 3rd, May 1st, June 5th, and July 17. 3 plus 14. Additional dates beginning with August 2023 will be determined at the Board of Education July 2023 organizational meeting.
We're just going to say moving forward, they're going to be the first Monday.
April 3rd, May 1st, June 5th, July 17th, and moving forward, they will be the first Monday of each month.
Support. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote.
Will you support it? Piles, yes. Wester?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Laster?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to my board. It's really good to be able to sit up here and laugh, to break the monotony. It really is. They're planning our 4th of July cookout, so. But I want to thank everyone for coming out. It is so good to see our staff, our new staff, to be here to help us move the district forward. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all that you do. Looking forward to working with you, Dr. Thompson and Mr. Brock. And really getting to get down to business so that we can move our district forward and doing the things that we need to remember, we are one Romulus. We are Romulus. We are eagles. We soar high. And that's what we want to keep instilling. That our vice president said that when she did her speech during Martin Luther King Day. I'm sorry, at the pinning. I'm sorry, same thing. But remembering where we came from and where we want to go. We want this is our future. They're our future. And if we don't set the example, who's going to set it? Those are our future educators out there. Our future doctors. Not that one that barely passed it like Dr. Thompson said. We want him or her to be able to go in there and they're passing that on that first go-round because they were educated. They got their start here in Romulus. Madam Secretary, did you have any comments?
Is that a joke?
We already know. 2 minutes.
First,
2 minutes.
welcome, Mr. Brock and Dr. Thompson. Dr. Edmondson, thank you. As I said, thank you for bringing people who are solid and experienced to Romulus long-term, not just interim. Mr. Scott, thank you for stepping in when we really needed people. Thank you for being here. But as I said, Dr. Edmondson, thank you for bringing long-term people to our district. It's refreshing to have an experienced HR person here long-term. And Dr. Thompson, I'm excited to just hear you talk about systems and accountability and that. So I'm excited for that. Dr. Edmondson, thank you for addressing the RASA contract, the conflicts in it, and for making a public statement about rectifying that. we got off track with that. And the same with the stipends, that came about because instead of bringing people into interim positions and moving them into prorated salaries, we were giving stipends, and as a result, we had an administrator who was overlooked for that reason.
Thank
So
you.
I'm excited to get back on track with that. The other thing, I appreciate Ms. Bales. I know she worked in the district, and things changed since then. We used to do a compensation for one event per day. That changed in 2017, so I am requesting that the Board of Education, that we establish something and have it clearly stated in policy what we compensate for and what we do not. I'm also requesting that the board be provided with the MASB compensations of all board members, because multiple board members were compensated for multiple classes on the same day. I do talk about consistency and transparency, and so I am fine with people using me as an example, but I do ask that we put everything there, and then we learn from it, and we clearly establish policies that are clear and that we abide by them, and we don't use them as iron fists, but we use them to do better as a board and for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Pios.
I have just clarification. Are you asking me or the president? You're saying you want MASB? Is there something you want me to get?
So here's the thing is, Ms. Bales had brought up how there was, for the MASB trainings, there were days where I took classes and received compensation, and I did. And I actually had learned that from a board member who's no longer serving, that when we take multiple classes, that we submit that. And so I'm asking that the board be provided with all board members' MASB compensation for the CBA classes.
We can get that.
Not a problem, but that's why I made the comment
Right.
that moving forward, we
And-
will
right.
set, you know, not to, it was
Sure.
not
Yeah.
to throw a stone at you,
No,
but just
no.
moving
Oh, I
forward to
get
say,
it.
we got to
I
get back
it.
on
And-
track
And I take,
do
the-
things
and I
decent
take
and
the
in order.
stones, but again, I would like that we learn from it. And the other thing is, what would benefit all of us is a board member orientation manual, so that we know, because I know when I first became a board member, we actually had forms, old school forms that we submitted, and there were 3 columns. One was for board meetings or trainings. The middle column was for building events, and then the far column, and you had it, the far column was for community events. And
Okay.
that's how we filled out compensation. So we can eliminate, we can condense. We had a cap, the cap went away in 2017, but we need to revisit that, but everything should
Thank
be
you.
in a manual so that we're all getting the same information.
We have that moving forward. Thank you so much. Trustee Laster.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. I just want to welcome our new Avengers. I feel like we're making it like, a team, you know what I'm saying? We want to bring the best of the best, and we're just slowly but surely assembling. And so thank you for coming to Romulus, and appreciate your presentations and look forward to working with you. Congratulations, Coach McCarthy. Also want to congratulate Coach Herb Buckley and his team, sending positive vibes that we can bring this home and take it all the way to the Breslin. So excited for that. And just iron sharpens iron, so I'm excited to just collaboratively work with everyone. Whether we agree, disagree, it's just done respectfully, and we just do it for the kids and just try to make Romulus, we will make Romulus shine and be on top again. So, thank you. Was I good? I didn't get a BB? Okay, woo-woo.
Vice President McCarthy.
Eagle Nation,
That's right.
Dr. Thompson, Mr. Brock, welcome. Happy to have you. Dan Scotts, thank you for your service. I truly appreciate you. Always a professional, so thank you. I'm just giving shout outs right now, sorry. I got you, Dr. E. I'll say the best for last. Mr. Bill Garland, thank you for everything that you do. I know that you're always put in a million direction, so I truly appreciate you. Thank you. And Dr. Gardner, every time we have a board meeting, your presentations, I'm always impressed. I never see you drop the ball, and I respect that.
Sorry, rewind. I forgot because I wrote something new. I want to thank the ambassadors in the buildings because I know behavior is, so thank you for all that they do. Our custodial staff, thank you because you cannot run anything without custodians. So thank you. Of course, love our teachers, but bus drivers, just everybody, thank you for making our unit work because without, like we said, well, Pastor Paul, he said the chain
Mr.
link.
Fudge, right.
Yes, Pastor
Reverend-
Fudge. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to go if we have a missing link, so thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry, Dr. Edmonds.
No, I thank the ambassadors too, and the custodians and the bus drivers.
I do again.
Dr. Edmondson.
Don't get confused about the bicycle chain. Just go back and look and see who said that. But let's move on. The mayor just sent me a text that there are 100 new homes coming to Romulus this year. So we have to work hard to get those families because I'll tell you, they're probably not thinking about Romulus Community Schools. They're thinking about the other school districts. You know, I always say, like, when you're the best show in town, you're never worried about somebody else coming into town, ever. When you're the best show in town. We're not the best show in town. We're competing to be one of the best in town. So that's exciting, but it's also frightening to me. So we have to step our game up, and we have to be, you know, one Romulus. We need to go out there, and we have to promote what we're doing. Bad-mouthing each other, bad-mouthing the district, I say it never works. It doesn't. You couldn't work on the Dallas Cowboys and bad-mouth Jerry Jones and think that you're going to come back. It doesn't work that way. So we have to hold each other in check. I want to thank everybody for board meetings that, you know, the last two I've laughed. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been able to do that. Just be able to laugh and have fun and feel like I have the support to move forward. So I thank you all for showing up and giving me the support, period. Two more things. Barth is going back to its overnight trip. I believe it might be fifth grade. I'm not sure. Science. So I just got it today, and Mr. Thompson said he'd be really appreciative if we could support that. So I'm going to support that and give it to the board so that you can sign off and make certain that our kids get back to doing, feeling like things are back to normal, if there's even such a thing. Unity here at this board table will take this district a long way. A long way. When we continue to show cracks or dissension, or you already know, it doesn't help us, and it has hurt us. But it looks like we're on the right track, and that doesn't mean that you agree with everything that I say, you know, not at all. And we're going to have disagreements, but if we can do things respectfully, and when I come to the board table, I'm trying to, when I bring things forward, I'm trying to bring them so that we can pass them, okay? It's embarrassing as a superintendent when you bring something to the board and they shoot it down. It looks really bad. So I will try not to put us in that situation where that happens. And lastly, I'm going to be on record again. I want the board to consider opening up the contract for Local 64 so that those, particularly secretaries, can be made whole. What they make is not, to me, a livable wage. I know I said this before, and I got myself in trouble, but guess what? I'll do it again. I will fight for people. People deserve to be compensated at a good rate, a great rate particularly. And remember, we are a nonprofit. The goal was not to have this big stash of cash. Okay, no, you have a rainy day fund, yes, you do that, but you pay your employees well because you value the work that they do. So we'll see if we value the work, okay, and that remains to be seen. Everybody says yes, but we'll see. And thanks, everybody, for coming on out. I appreciate you. Next time, bring a friend.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye, 7:44.
I wonder when Mike Hanson's going to move his hands. It's always like this. He's